Welcome to Bytes of Light with Angel and Seth Rohr.
We provide bite-sized nuggets of wisdom to feed your soul, expand your awareness, and free your mind to help you create a more beautiful today and a brighter tomorrow.
Join us in our magical kitchen as we serve up another high-vibe snack for your soul. Welcome to another episode of Bytes of Light, Snacks for Your Soul. Today we have an amazing guest, Grace Solaris. She is one of our featured authors in our upcoming book, Bytes of Light, Evolving Leadership for Your Spiritual Entrepreneur. And I am so happy that you said yes to this project. Thank you for being here, Grace.
Thank you for inviting me, which was amazing in itself, because I had known for a long time, that my next step was sort of, yes, I've had some books up my sleeve, jumping into that next level was kind of, yes, there is a divine timing to it, of course, as with everything, but it also really forced, me to really take that leap of trust to just jump into it, without knowing anything. But I just felt like this is my opportunity. This is an opportunity to go next level. And we know we are pushed to grow and evolve all the time, and normally I think I'm pretty good at just jumping without actually. My whole life have been a bit like that, but so it brought up also some old wounds, also because we had to talk about or write about our story. So of course we had to dive deep in. I mean, I had worked a lot on my healing for many years, done the forgiveness work, and since my awakening, I've been in bliss most of the time, and that is part of my story, how I got there. But yet I still had to go in and feel again, to relive sort of that trauma, that was part of my upbringing, part of my childhood. So that was perfect. That was good. And I've learned so much, and I'm really so grateful for the whole support team, for you having hosted the support calls, and Laura and all that, which has been amazing. So I feel also it was such a gift. I've learned so much, also about my own writing. I love to write, but this has, I think, really, I've learned a lot to it, which I can then apply in my future writings, and hopefully books that are to come. I mean, they are to come. It's just a matter of time, So I'm very grateful, and thank you so much for reaching out to me, Angel and Seth.
We're so grateful that you said yes. And it's interesting because people think, oh, you just write some words and you put it in a book, but it's so much more than that. When you going into these collaborative books, Angel and I have done a few other collaborative books before we decided to lead this one. And it really is, like you said, there's so much growth that comes from diving in and getting out of that comfort zone, and to tell your story. Like you said, you can do the work around it, but that next level is then being able to write it down and share it with the world, to release on people that you didn't even know existed until you start playing in that arena. And that next level, when you can then write it on paper, go through that process, put it out to the world, and work through that. Mind you, it's still a process of working through, but when you can get to the other side of that and not have those reoccurring traumatic feelings, now you can really step away from it. You've written it and released it.
That's right. It's kind of, you're ticking it off once and for all, and it can come to a rest. In my case, it wasn't really that. I think it hadn't, but now that I have done this, then I feel, oh yes, it has still, it brought up these last, like it was brought up once again to be put to rest, so to say. So that was really amazing to and to I had one of the feelings that came up with me was that feeling of, yeah, like terror or something like that, which when I was doing the healing and all that, that was more around the pain and all that, but I had that feeling of being terrified, really. And I really felt that again. And so, yeah, that was very interesting, yeah, to go through, actually. Yeah.
And the one step further of the healing for ourselves is when we share our story, we think, oh, I'm the only person this has ever happened to. And nobody's really going to relate to this, but there are so many people that can relate to your story that was your transformation, that traumatic story that you recovered from. You grew above it and beyond it. And so many people can learn from that story. So if you're, to the listeners that are out there, your story is important and it matters, and people need to hear it because you're not alone.
Yeah. The thing is, it's actually our story, because I mean, now I can only speak for myself, but it is also, it's my personal story, but it's also a collective story, so you can say it's our story. So I guess everyone on one level or the other will recognize it as being part of their story, or they have some kind of wound that will relate to that. They will recognize it. So many will probably feel, oh my God, it's like you're writing to me or something like that, So yeah, very grateful for being able to share that. But yeah, so interesting about the words also, because after we had the first, well, we actually sent it in, we had this first, when I finished the chapter and all that, and then we had to look at it again, and I also slept over it, and then I said, there was still something. And then of course I got some suggestions from this, Laura sent some suggestions also, and then I was kind of tying it up in a different way, and there was just one sentence actually that then came into me, just a sentence, and then the sentence came, and then there was just one word that I changed, and when I changed that one word, then there was the next layer, then it just like sparked off another layer of healing. Yeah, so yeah, it was very interesting. So I guess everyone was in their way going through a lot of stuff. So yeah, so me, it wasn't the big trauma thing going through it, but it really lifted the last layers and put it to rest. So yeah, it was really amazing.
When you talk about the group story, something that just came in for me is when we do our internal healing, we bring those things into the light within us.
Yeah.
When we put it on paper or start sharing it orally with people around us, we're bringing that shame, that darkness into the collective light.
Yeah.
And as we all get comfortable, as we let go of the shame within us and can bring that and put it out of us, then we let go of the shame externally, and we're letting go of the shame and that dark energy on the bigger dream, the one out of the one dream. And that is why I think it takes that extra level of energy, that extra level of personal power to be able to do what we're doing here.
Yeah.
All the collaborative books out there that Brave Healers publications are putting out, those authors stepping to that next level to help heal the collective by bringing their shadows out into the light to be healed globally, not just.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing.
It's big work that we're doing when we step into these containers, and we are so grateful that you said yes, and that all of our authors said yes, because we've created something that's we're so proud of, and we know it's going to help people so much, and it's such an exciting part of.
Well, it's been a vision for a long time. I've been dreaming about doing this for 10 years. And through this whole process of trying to vet who we wanted to bring in and, finding those unique rays of light that can vibrate where we vibrate, I've been stalking you for years, girl.
Yes, you told me. Yeah, I'm totally surprised to hear it, because I you never sort of, I don't know if you ever commented until that one post.
Yeah, the odd time here and there, but I've been sharing messages of love and light, and your gift is so unique. And so authentic and raw and unapologetic. It's like, this is my channel. This is what I bring to the world. And I just love your mission, and I love the energy that you bring to your work.
Yes.
And, through these books, we do talk about the traumatic stories, but what people need to understand is those who dig the deepest shine the brightest. And because you have done your work, and because you did the diving, you have crafted this beautiful way to translate light.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about, your process and what you do, like what you actually do?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know where to start, but yeah, let's just, like sort of go back. In my case, wasn't like I grew up and I had an accident or something that brought my awakening or something. Many go through something abrupt, boom, like awakening. I was sort of, I would say, already in a way awakened when I came. I got wounded, obviously, because I went through a lot of trauma, but I sort of knew that I came here to bring light, to bring love. And it was just, I was pushed so much right from the beginning, that in a way I didn't have an option, but I also met a lot of resistance. Yes, just being that light, beaming that light, which then, going through a lot of trauma. So I knew very early, that sort of, I'm here to bring love and healing. But I also knew first I had to go through a time where I sort of prepare. I didn't know how that looked, but I knew I had to be patient, and patience is not my strength because I'm a fire horse in the Chinese sign. So it's just like I settle today and I ride today.
That's why we connect, sister.
Yeah. So that was a bit difficult, but I thought it had in my head, maybe when I'm like 35, 38, it was just behind my, it took a bit longer till I really got out there and got visible. But in a way, I've always worked, within, and also when I go back, I started in my 20s, really diving deep into all the teachings, spirituality, everything I could put my hands on, from the world religions, shamanism, Sophic teachings, paranormal, everything, of the light. So obviously I also had encounters with someone that represented the darkness, so I also had very challenging moments really to face my own darkness, which was important, of course, but that most of all to reclaim my power also, because through the trauma that I had, I got somewhat broken, not so broken that, I still knew my mission, and I still knew I'm going to do this and all that, but it sort of, so I had to work through my trauma, obviously. And so I did this. I didn't actually I wasn't one going to healers and all that. So it was a lot of self-healing, working with my team. I always knew, my guides and higher self and angels and all that was all normal to me. It was not like, do I believe in angels? Do I believe in incarnation? It was all normal. It was just like, of course. And of course, we can walk through walls, you can heal everything, you can heal, all that was just normal to me, so it was just like such a force in me, that I could not sort of ignore. Yeah, it was so alive and strong in me. So I started pretty early, and I had some workshops and books and read a lot of books. So I got a lot of healing from books. Actually, I didn't have many teachers in that way, other than joining a mystery school, which I then didn't end. because I stopped before I got through it. It was a 2-year education, but I felt like I gave my power away, that it wasn't like this heartfelt experience. It was like taking over sort of a concept of something which wasn't like, it didn't feel authentic to me. I felt I really need to dive into myself and connect directly with God. That was my path. So the work that I do now, if I can jump into that now, is like, I mean, I started on Facebook pretty late. I think it was 2010. Only got on it because my family, because I was living abroad. I was living in a foreign country. I've been abroad for 18 years. And so they asked me, why don't you come on Facebook? Everyone is on Facebook. And then I went on Facebook and I started to share the messages that I got through from my guides. But I started very, very slowly and was almost shaking when I was pressing on enter the first time. And it sort of developed very fast, So within not, I don't know, a few years, I was already like 5,000, had 5,000 friends and had a big reach. And people like said to me, where can I buy your books? Can I come and visit your ashram? And stuff like that. And I was just like, what's going on here, And I was the one preaching, be your own guru, because I saw how much in the spiritual community that people that were giving their power away and all that. And it was just like, so how many forget, that God is within and looking externally. And this was also part of my journey to really internalize that, to understand that. So it was so we were sort of searching outside of ourselves and almost chasing, awakening or chasing truth, or and I just found out, it became clear to me. It's just like I'm not gonna achieve anything in this way. And so so when I was in the mystery school, which was a very thorough and very we went very deep. There was a lot of initiations also. The teacher was an Essenian priest. So this is, if someone doesn't know it, this was the teaching of Jesus. And there was this whole Essene, very ancient teachings. But my teacher was also very aligned with, the galactic teachings of various star systems bringing in. We connected with, everything, Sirius, Pleiadian, Cassiopeia, and all that. And he brought in a lot of channelings. And I also did a channel education. I actually did that, but then when I came to the point that I need to go internal now, I need to go directly to God, then I sort of got into a crisis, or like this, some call it the dark night of the soul. And I got totally confused, because I was starting to getting everything that I thought I knew through, let's say, how many years would that be? About 10, 12 years of reading channelings, doing workshops here and there. It just turned out that it lost value somehow. I just thought that it doesn't really bring me there, and then when I dropped out of the mystery school, then it was actually my higher self that came in from the sideline and sort of, took that decision. I didn't have any choice. This has happened several times in my life. Also, when I got divorced from the father of my children, it wasn't planned, but it just came in from the sideline, and I couldn't go one day longer living on this lie, which it was, that wasn't functioning and all that. So after I took the decision to, so to say, opening up to my own inner source of wisdom, then I started to being basically stripped to the core, layer by layer, like an onion. So everything I had built my whole spirituality on, my understanding, my beliefs, everything was just torn apart. It was torn away from me. So it was like having the rock pulled away from under your feet, and so I was just like standing there, you know. I didn't know anything. I was just like very raw and vulnerable and had nothing to hold on to. And so that was a very tough period, because there's also a lot of ego layers that have to go, you know. I know this, I know that, you know, and you know, and suddenly you have nothing you can go out and say, you know, because you basically say, I know that I know nothing, you know,
Yeah.
and basically that I am nothing. So really letting go of all those egoic layers also, and the etiquettes, the spiritual etiquettes that, you know, I had put on myself and others had put on me, suddenly it's just like gone. Yeah. So I went through the dark night of the soul, and you know, and that it was a very tough time. So yeah, I didn't really want to go outside. I was just like disorientated and confused, and you're in like in this kind of void where you have no orientation. You have nothing to orientate to because you have nothing to hold on to. There's nothing. It's just like a void, you know. And so I felt really, really bad. And then I realized, okay, by disconnecting and being stripped of all this stuff, I even basically disconnected from my higher self, from God, from my guide. So I was literally in deep separation, you know, which is actually what we try to heal and try to avoid. You know, we all want this being one with all that is, feeling one with God, and connecting and feeling that oneness. That's when we are home, when we return home. But that's just the illusion, is that you find it out there, or you know, you're searching for God externally, but it's only found within. Yeah. So this was, yeah, very painful period. But then I understood, okay, I actually disconnected with everything, which of course was the purpose to realizing, oh my God, now I mean, I have to sort of come into my heart, and so I actually called God, you know. I just like beg God, you know, I'm just feeling so bad. I'm opening up to you again, sort of, here I am, you just take me in, or I'll take you in, or whatever, you know. I was just like laying myself out to God, and just opened my heart. And then, yeah, from there, then I reconnected with God in a very authentic and real way, you know. And then from there, I then, yeah, then let's say from there, I was sort of still, I hadn't, let's say, completely awakened, but I was like starting from, I was kind of zeroed. So I was kind of starting from the inside out, connecting, where before I was coming from my wounded self, I was searching outside of self, but now I was really being real and true and open and coming from the inside. And then in this, yeah, so I dropped out of the mystery school, and so basically now I was on my own with God. So I had no teachers or no nothing. Of course, all my guides, my team, I reconnected with them. And so also the way I used to channel, totally, I mean, I've learned a certain way to channel and all that, and it's just like everything was in the dustbin. I was just like opening my heart, and it's just like it just flowed in a total different way, and it was more like telepathically, and it was just like that in it. gift that we already have. You don't actually need to learn it. We're already doing it, but it's just like you think, oh, I have to learn it, I have to, and then we have to think our way out, and we have to use maybe a method and this and that, and it's just like often this noise just complicates things. So to really being a pure channel is just actually just opening up and being available. Yeah. So what the next I wanted to say was then, I lost the thread now.
Well, you're right on track. And
Yeah.
actually a perfect segue, because so many people look externally, and that is part of the journey. When you first start on this, you are
Yes,
looking.
it is.
And I don't want to say teachers are bad, because we all have teachers. However, it's that piece about giving your power away to the teachers. And
that's a thing, yeah.
And I didn't know your path. I just knew what I saw on Facebook. And, I think it was probably 2012, 13 that I found you. So it's been 10 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so witnessing your journey and witnessing what you do, I didn't know on the inside that you and I have very parallel stories.
Yes.
What you just shared it was my experience as well, giving my power to a teacher in a mystery school and coming out the other side. So like when you speak, it's like, there's my story. Oh, it feels so good. Somebody, it's not just me, because it's a thing. It's so personal, especially when your ego gets involved. It's like, how could this happen to me?
Yeah.
And then, so finding you and then asking you to come on this journey with us, and then actually hearing your backstory confirmed to me my knowing of how closely connected you and I are. And that vibe on that ray of light, because you literally have met and hold hands with the angel of death. That would be my language. You explained your transformation in your language. My explanation is, we are now friends with the angel of death.
Yes.
I'm not scared to die. I'm not scared to be here.
Exactly.
Myself. I am my best friend. I am my hero. I am my protector. I am.
This is very interesting, because it just pops up now. Because at one time, that's interesting. Yeah. Because you say this about the angel of death, because I have been working with my dreams, paying attention to my dream, working with my dreams from very early on. I've read about the natives, how they work with their dreams and all that. So from my early 20s, I was very aware of that. So my dream life have always been very important to me. I put a lot of attention. And so I have had a lot of lucid dreaming, a lot of initiations, a lot of things. I've seen myself in council meetings and all sorts of things. And also after we connected, I had some very important dreams also, which I sense was a precondition to something that we are going to do together. But just to come back to the angel of death, because it just popped up now when you said it. I actually had in one dream state experience, I was granted to look in I say granted because that's how it felt. I know that you say, you can just read the Akashic records and all that. But anyway, this situation was like, I was granted to look into the Akashic records, and it was like a thick book, like to pull the pages. And I was, symbolically, right? Dream language.
I love it.
But it was like that. And I was allowed to see 2 pages only at that particular time. And one of them it just said Anna L. I didn't know L. I knew, okay, it must be an angel. And that's actually the angel of death, an angel of transition. And I actually forgot that, so it says like that's, you can say part of me, I don't know, but it just came to me that you are connected with, or you are an aspect of the angel of death, which of death is of course the transition, its birth, it's everything is in it. And the other one was then, which is not important for this discussion, but that was that I was a kahuna. So that is just the, so this dates back to Lemuria, so they still have the name Kahuna in Hawaii, but it is this Lemurian connection which I embody very much. So this was the two information. So yes, to the angel of death. That was really confirmed in that insight that I had that was shown. Yeah. So very interesting. Yeah. But yes, I had an astrology reading. He said, yes, you literally walked through hell. And the thing is, when he said that, I just thought, it's nothing, I mean,
Yes,
yes, I
I
went through
agree. Yeah.
things, but I mean, we are badasses, we're tough, and we've been around since, I mean, I always sense like, it sounds crazy, but like, since the beginning of time, that's just like, I know, because I have this, what should I say, inner knowing of, I can feel, I have a very strong, so when I connect with different cultures and ancient timelines and so on, I had this, such a strong knowing, you just can't deny it, because your body is also reacting, and you can't fabricate that. So I know, I am a very ancient soul, and I know, like you, we've come here many times to support in bringing in the light and bringing in the next step in evolution. And yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so happy, that you reached out and we could connect. And as I said, I had this posting where we got connected. It was actually because, if I should just mention that,
Yeah,
when
go
I had
ahead.
this,
Yeah.
that I was actually, I think it had just been the day before or something. Oh yeah, you reached out. So I was talking with someone on the phone, and we were talking about the new earth communities, and how we are going to come together, and we have been so much on this digital level, but now we are going next level. We're going to meet much more in the physical and all that. And while I was talking, I suddenly had that vision. But when you get that vision, you get like a package. So it's like, it's more than just like one picture. You get more information. So when I had that image, I just knew it was a gathering. It was in Mexico. I don't know how you say it. I don't even know how you say it. I always wanted to go there, but so I just had that vision, that there's going to be a big gathering there. I knew I was going to get there, and I saw this big gathering, and I'm speaking of thousands of people that are going to come together to bring in the new codes of light and some kind of gathering, and that there's no, let's say, no leader. There will be many co-hosts. It's like a unity, so we will all bring in important, our presence, and when we connect there, will create a massive beam of light. And those that are called to go there, they will, I mean, it's sort of, it's already written in the stars, it's already planned, and we will come together, and so there will be a divine timing when planets and cosmic bodies align, whatever. I sort of feel that it will be in 2024. I don't know if it could be in 2024, but I feel more like 24. But that just came in, so I posted that, and then you wrote that comment, and I can't remember exactly what you wrote, but you said, yeah, we're gonna go there and you're gonna come, and so you'd had the same vision and were having the same information, more or less. So yeah, that was pretty amazing. And after that, I even had another, but that was another vision also while I was awake. And there I was suddenly also getting this vision where I was again at the Mayan pyramids. I don't know if this was also in Teotihuacan or where it was a different place. I don't know, but I just saw, I was walking into a sort of, it was in a landscape, and then I go in and there's sort of an entrance. And so I just go in, I just see green, just green, like a sort of, I can't say garden, but there's some green landscape. And then I look, and then appears a pyramid, which was clearly a Mayan pyramid. You know, they have this way of building. And then I look to the right, and then I see this, I've forgotten the name now, Jacinda or something, I can't remember, something Jadel, but that's a specific flower of that area. I didn't know it, but I described them in a posting, and someone who lives in Mexico, they said, oh, this is that flower, you know. So again, I had another vision of being there. So whether that was that timeline where we are going there, I don't know, but that was pretty interesting. Yeah, that I had that. So definitely something, you know.
Well, what came up for me with the Mayan temples as well as Teotihuacan, working with this new mentor that I have, she has really called out my Viking roots. And
Oh, yeah.
when Seth and I were in, what was that? Tulum, not Tulum. Tulum? No.
We were in Cancun.
Cancun.
We went to.
We were at some pyramids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too high up to remember where they were or what they were called, but that guide there said that there's a connection between the European Vikings and the Toltec warriors.
Yeah. Okay.
So
he said Quetzalcoatl revealed himself to those people as a white, Anglo, blonde-haired, like
wow,
Viking, like how you would describe
Vikings.
the Viking character. That's how Quetzalcoatl
yeah,
revealed himself to the Mayan people
wow,
of the peninsula of Mexico.
Yeah.
wow.
And so working with this Toltec priestess, she called in the Viking roots, and you know, I've been working with Toltec philosophies for a long time. And there, and this was just yesterday, so I'm still integrating integrating the medicine, but there's a connection that I don't think most of the general public understands, that, you know, the Vikings are part of that Toltec history.
Yeah, wow, very interesting. Yeah.
And then there's also a mountain in the West Kootenays in Canada called Valhalla.
Yeah, okay.
And
Yeah.
you can only get there by boat. So it's
Yeah.
and so last night I was dreaming a lot about that pilgrimage from Europe over to Mexico on ships. And there's some of my ancestral roots, how I ended up being in the Toltec world, that, you know, it is literally part of my DNA. Well, you know, when we go to the third attention, we are all one, but when we drop down and try to figure out, you know, what rays of light are the closest to us, you know, that's my history. That's my genetic. And there's two.
Yes. Yeah. So if the listeners don't know, I'm in Denmark. So
yes,
it's
exactly. You're literally in Europe.
They don't know. The listeners probably don't know. Yeah. So I'm from Denmark, and so brought up here. You know, grown up in this culture, and so of course, having this imprint also in my DNA. I actually also have Scottish roots because my grandmother, I think it was Scottish also. I don't know how far the Vikings went, but it's certainly here Scandinavia, and I think it goes further. I don't know how far, but it was a pretty big, you know, I don't think people maybe realize how big it is. So so very interesting. But but I wanted to go to Mexico for so long. It has been on the top of my bucket list. I went to Peru and spent 1 month in Peru, but also so both the Incas and the Maya, it's just like
so good.
So that's what I mean. Being ancient souls, we have been in many of these ancient high civilizations. We carry the keys and codes, and so very exciting how we're gonna get together there. And yeah, so yeah, I don't know how far you have got in planning and all that. You obviously have connections there because you have teachers and
Yeah.
connections there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, there's, as you know, as seers, we see 50 steps ahead. And like I said, I've been envisioning and dreaming into this for 10 years. And
Yeah.
the first piece, the fruition, is this book, which is, we're birthing it on summer solstice. Like,
Yeah.
how exciting is that?
Yeah.
And that's just
Fantastic.
step one. Like, you know, some people, and I've seen it in our community of authors, you know, oh, the book's out, great, next. I'm like, oh, are you kidding? This is the baby.
Yeah.
Now we get to nurture the baby and grow the baby. And when I say the baby, we are collectively birthing this together. We're all going to be babies, and we get to create storylines that come out of this. And clearly I have a plan. The plan
Yes.
is coming. But as you've noticed, and as you have experienced as an author in one of our collaborations, it's intense.
Yes.
The contraction and the expansion and the contraction, it literally is like labor pains, right?
Yeah.
And you know, the traumas come up and then they go away, and then another layer comes, and now we're going to be birthing it, and then we're going to be doing this, and then we're going to be doing this, like there. But
Yeah.
you know, just like as when you're giving birth to a baby, you don't know the future, you have a plan, but you also have to let the plan go. That's part of flowing with the universe, because
exactly, because
one of my mantras is, okay, universe, show me this or better. Because as humans, we do have creative, expansive minds. However, we are limited being in these physical soul baskets. And so yes, we can dream these glorious dreams, but if you let go of that, sometimes the universe can give you that even better past limited belief systems, even though, like, people like you and I, we have very expansive belief systems and can flow through a lot of things and have lost that rigidity. But if you can even let go past that, that's when the miracles happen, that things that humans' minds can't conjugate yet. And you know, that's where the claircognizants are literally pulling miracles and teaching new things, and that prophet space drops in, right? And so, yes, I have a plan, and I'm keeping it to myself because I don't know, the universe might steer us in another direction. All I know is that what I've created is fucking badass.
Yes.
And if the universe is going to give us something even better, hell yes. Oh yes, we're in. I'm in for the ride.
Yeah,
Full
exactly. And that's what I mean. And that's also how I live. I'm just saying, I'm in, you know, and that's like also surrendering to God, you know, and very much living in the feminine, divine feminine energy of, like, I don't know maybe right now how, when, and what, but I know I have the divine intent, I have the vision, and then just sort of letting go of it. You keep holding the vision. And it's all also like, for me, you know, early on my path, I used to, you know, ask my guides, and early on, oh, I pulled the cards on and on and asking. But there came a time I stopped asking, because I know if I'm gonna have to know something, they freaking know to make sure that I know that I have to move my ass, you know, to go in a certain place or do a certain thing or share something or whatever. I can't miss it. And that's, again, when you are living in that, when you really come into embody divine trust and faith, and being in the inner knowing, you know, you can't miss anything, you know, just hang loose, you know, there's nothing to, you know, just be. And because that's the thing, when you're afraid of you're losing control, or you're gonna miss something, then you start to interfere. I would say interfere with FEAR. So you're acting out of fear, and you start to mess up things, you know, because you cannot go with the natural flow. So you might have your idea how things are, you want them to be, but again, the universe, your higher self, may maybe got an even more extended version, how this is going to happen. So when you're in your mind trying to figure things out, you limitate yourself, and yeah, you interfere. So it's really about coming into the heart and just stepping back, as some say, let go and let God. It sounds so easy, but it's really having that discipline to be mindful, and to really, you have to monitor yourself and seeing when you are slipping into the mind, into old programs, because it's like the problem is when you slip into the mind, you are limited to past and future, and life is happening now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and that's where this quantum field is, of infinite possibilities. But when you come from the past, you're limited of what you thought was possible in that limited awareness that you had at that time, and it's also tainted by all the fuck ups and all the things that didn't work out. And obviously when you're in that space, and still maybe if you haven't cleared the wounds and all that, you're living in fear of that going to happen again. So you're living in avoidance. So you're trying to avoid that. You don't want that to happen in your future, but what you resist persists because you vibrate that energy into the future. You're trying to avoid it and you actually attract it, So that's why sometimes people find themselves, things repeating themselves, coming in having the same sort of topics and issues and problems, and or attracting the same type of partners or whatever. That's the thing. So it's really about being mindful, coming into the heart, and really being in trust, and really surrendering and just saying, okay, I got my vision. I know what, of course you need to be clear of what you want, and as you say, yeah, the more energy you put into it, you make it grow and evolve. But exactly how, when, and what, just leave that to your higher self, leave that to the universe. Just say yes.
Yeah.
I'm in, though I don't know, how this gonna work out. I can't see maybe the exact vision, or maybe you do have a vision, but it might be a limited vision. So instead, just keeping that vibration of, like it's already happening, and being joyous, being grateful, and just keep up the vibe, but leave it open, like be open to everything and attached to nothing. That's where you have the best cards in your hand. Yeah. So that's really very much about living in that divine feminine energy, allowing yourself to surrender and let go. And because then you can be aligned, you can be attuned to your higher self and to source, and being in that flow of the present moment where all the goodies are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we, during the course of this conversation, we've kind of talked about from waking up to being aware to being in that space that ultimately everybody wants to get to, whether they realize it or not. And I just want to kind of like lay out this pathway that we discussed for the listeners to, I guess, simplify it a little bit. And they might see where they're at on this.
That's the divine masculine
I know,
Right.
right?
structure. Yeah, it's good.
So
I realize sometimes I have to be more structural sometimes. Yes, it's
sometimes
good.
it just helps
Yes.
to see where we're at on this in this journey, right? So you wake up and you realize there's something greater than yourself. And then you start looking for that something, but the world has conditioned us to look outside of us. Look in a book, on the internet, go to find a guru. And then when that falls short, we're forced to start looking within.
Yes.
And when we start looking within, sometimes then we find out that we're getting in our own way. And so like we start stripping back the layers, but when you dive in so deep, you end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yes,
you strip off
exactly.
all the layers, including the layers that serve you. And so now you're going, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm in the void. I got nothing. And this is that walking with the angel of death. And it can feel like death. It can feel like depression.
Yeah.
It can feel like there's nothing worth living for, but you've
Yeah.
disconnected, like you said.
Yeah, because you feel purposeless in a way,
Right.
yeah, when you're there. Yeah.
And then when you hopefully you make that connection, you go, oh, I've lost my connection with what matters, what I was actually looking for. And
Yes.
you start drawing that back in, and you make that heart connection.
Yeah.
And now you have this bliss space that opens up. But there's still this, there can still be this mind space that wants to have control still.
Yeah.
As we let go of that control of the mind and trust the heart, that intuition starts to drop in. We start to
Yeah.
trust our intuition. And that is when we can do what you were just saying before we start, at the end of what you were talking about, where then we can open up and just allow what is without
Yes.
attachment to the outcome, and keeping that focus on what we want, the desired.
Yes.
Don't focus on the things you don't want.
Mm.
It's like when you're riding a motorcycle, if you look at the tree that you want to avoid, you're going to run
Yeah.
that tree. Your body's going to go where
Yes.
your head's pointing. Put your attention in the direction you want to be, not where you don't want to be. Your body,
Yeah.
your soul, it's all going to go in the direction that you're pointing your attention. So
Yeah.
recognize where you're at as the listeners on that path, and know that it's just part of the journey. There's not a right or wrong
Yes.
beyond that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You're just on that journey somewhere, and you're experiencing what you're here to experience right now.
Yeah.
Know that there is a point where you can let go and let love be your guide and fill you up all the time, and the dramas can fall away, the intuitions can come in, you'll be connected with the greater being, the greater good, the greater consciousness, and life just becomes something unimaginable, even in
Yeah.
3D
Magic
world,
starts to happen.
right?
Yeah.
In walking in both worlds. And that's what we
Yeah.
like. That's the goal, is a foot in each world. Be
Yeah.
in this world, not of this world, and that will allow you to be in both worlds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
beautiful conversation covering lots of really good stuff.
Yeah, and we just are so grateful that you said yes.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that I was privileged to have your medicine for the last 10 years as a closet site seeker, as I was watching your evolution. And
Yeah.
It was just an honor and a pleasure to be part of your growth. And I'm so excited for these next steps that we get to play together. It's just so exciting, and I just love you so much. So thank you so much.
So
I love you too. Thank you so much. You really touched my heart, both of you. Soul family.
yes,
Soul family,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will surely get together, whether it's going to be in Mexico, whatever, but
That's happening. It's just a when.
Yeah.
We just got to figure
yeah.
that out.
And also interesting because one of your teachers, Jose, what is he called? Delgado, yes.
Jorge Delgado, yes.
Yeah, that was also so interesting because after we connected, I also met him in Dreamtime twice.
Right. Yes. Very shortly after you
Which
said
is
yes to this project.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty amazing. And in one of them, he was, and I didn't know anything about him. I just saw the name in your site, and you mentioned it, and then I met him in Dreamtime, and it was a lucid dream. It was absolutely clear. And then, yeah, he showed up there. We were just hanging out, talking. And then he said to me, I believe this one belongs to you. And then he gave me a crystal.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know that he
That
was.
sounds very much like Jorge, doesn't it?
He did that to me when we were in Peru.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yes.
sure this is your crystal skull. Here you go.
Yeah. It was that funny way of saying it, I believe this belongs to you,
That's
sort of.
Jorge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I'm hoping that you get an opportunity to meet him as well.
Yeah.
And we do have our first pre-launch in Salt Lake City in May 12th to 14th. And then it's launching on the 21st. And I think July 21st is going to be our official book launch, the Friday. So hopefully all our listeners
Brook, BC.
can tune into that. We will be hosting that live, and hopefully Grace come and join us live.
I will. I mean, so it's over the weekend. I think on the Friday, the timing is just like in the middle of my night or something. But the second day, I will, and I think that's actually where he will be there. Then where he's teaching about the Tektites, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Which was also awesome because just after I had that dream, the following day I had this meteorite right in front of my window, and
I remember the picture.
Such a narrow space that I mean, I wasn't outside looking. I had such a narrow space I live in a thatched house. The roof is a thatched roof, I think you call it. So it's really just a stripe, and I just go to the window and then
zoom,
but slow mode, and I was just like, I was hit in my heart, like, I mean, and I mean, it went on. It was a download. I was changed afterwards energetically. It was really a download. And then I shared with you, and you said, you know what? He's working with Tektites. I said, oh my God, So there was a lot of things just happening, around the time when we connected, and it was just like, wow, this is certainly, we are doing the right thing here.
It's confirmation that it is time to gather, and the people that have come together in this collaboration, it's going to be a fun ride, and we look really forward to it. And we are so happy that you joined us today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And I will join you in Salt Lake City one of the days or whatever. Since I'm living in Scandinavia, I can't just come. Like otherwise, I would surely
that's a long haul for you.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have missed the opportunity to go and meet in person. But I'm a single mother and I have kids and all that, so there has to be a bit planning on my side when I do stuff like that.
I think to walk in is when we will all gather. That's where it's going to happen. So we'll just dream into that and find a date.
And thank the listeners for being here today too.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I know there's some really good gems in there for you to take out and mull over and work with.
And stay tuned for our book launch on June 21st.
All right.
Thank you so much, Grace.
All right.
Thank you. My love to both of you and to all of the listeners.
All our love.
All our love.
Website, upcoming events and books at www